Hello everybody, back. Got a lucky little quick weekend home from the job site. We have a tester coming down from our Canadian facility, and as this weekend is the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, so happy Thanksgiving to all our viewers in Canada. He won't be coming until after the holiday, so we got to a point where we can't go any further until he shows up. Hopefully bring some good snacks and food with him. And we're going to go back on Monday. So real quickly, what I wanted to cover, I've been doing a lot of work on the proposed track plan changes. Got some help from an individual. I want to give a shout out to him in a moment. I'm going to show the track plan, but real quick, just want to kick off and say here's what I think I'm going to do. It's not cast in stone yet, although you'll see I've started doing some stuff, so it might not be stone, but maybe rock. I'm going to start out kind of explaining what we're going to do real quickly, and then show the track plan, and then get this posted because I have a lot of other work to do. Oh man, this is going to be a big... Okay, anyway, so let me just pause here real quick, go over to CP97, and just kind of walk through what we're planning to do. Okay, here we are, CP97 as I call it, and I've decided that if I do it, I'm probably going to go with the double end staging back behind the utility room, which is back behind this wall. And the way I'm going to access it from this side is to kind of reconfigure 97. And what I'm going to do, and again I'll explain a little bit more on the track plan, but basically going to keep most of the track the same. This crossover will come out and just be a switch, and then here this crossover will come out and be another switch. And they're going to be number 10 turnouts because I can fit them in. And then that's going to go back into the staging area. Okay. And since most of the runs now are going to be from staging to staging, what I decided to do was make the main line here. This is not going to be single track, and allow me to, well, take one track out, hopefully reuse some of the flex track. Still be nice and scenic. There's no more industries coming over here. And then we'll come around over to here. This little intermediate will go away. And then here, it's going to come back to double track through a number 10 turnout. And you can see I've been doing some work here. And then the main line is going to, this is all going to basically come back against the wall. It's going to curve around here. I'm going to have the factory back along here, well, basically along the whole side. And to get back to the staging, it's going to come off here, come around, and go basically through here, back into the staging area. And then the line will continue around, sweep around, come back here, and then continue over here. And what I'm also going to do, since I'm going to gain, you can kind of get a hint of what I'm going to do there, huh? Does that give it away or what? Since, all this is basically going to move back, I'm going to gain a huge amount of aisle space here. So what I'm thinking of doing, and I've always wanted to do this, and I'll put a link to a video where I show my roundhouse. I want to get the roundhouse on the layout because I put so much time and effort and money into that thing. I'd like to have a facility with some steam era stuff, and I know I kind of like to run dual era, the mid-50s Pennsy New York Central, and then that kind of morphed through the ages into the current NS CSX. I like both, sorry. So I think it's kind of cool to have that stuff. Plus, like I said, I put a lot of effort into that, so I'd like to include it. So what we're going to do is we're going to reconfigure this end of Eugene Yard and add basically a coal dock over here. So that's the reason for the trains to come out of staging, is for for ore to load onto a lake boat. And I may even have a scale 6-foot long lake boat on a separate table that I can kind of push into the dock. I'm thinking right now kind of putting a Walther's type loading dock there. I went with loading because I think unloading takes a lot more room, and I kind of have to compromise a little bit just because of the space I have, because I don't want to cheat this aisle too terribly much. And then off of this yard, and actually this will be also a lead, it's going to come into the engine terminal, which This might be hard for me to hold this, but that's the turntable template. Okay, on the plan, I'll show you, it does fit. It's going to sit up in this corner here. I'm going to lose a little bit of aisle. I won't go below 2 feet, which I know is kind of tight, but it's, you know, just this very end is just going to be the roundhouse. So the roundhouse will sit kind of up here. I figure how I'm going to scenic this. I might actually sneak this into a tunnel. Not sure yet, because I'm kind of anti-hidden track, but anyway. And then have the turntable, the roundhouse, the turntable. I'm going to have my coaling tower, you know, the sand area, water, everything, and then a small diesel fuel facility. Similar to my old layout that I had, just a little bit larger, because I do have a little bit more room here. You can see I am pretty serious, because there's the turntable. That's the largest one I could fit. The old one I had was a really small Roco turntable, which I could barely even fit an A unit, you know, an F7A unit on. This I can just fit the Pensy J I have. I mean, it's tight, but I figured, hey, that's one of the operational things you got to deal with. So I got that, and you can see in here I've actually started, because one of the things that I want to do is reuse as much of the, especially the turnouts, as possible, because I have a lot of money and time in the turnouts, and I needed to know, well, can I save them? Because if I can't, that really kind of complicates things, because the plan is to reuse a lot of these. Turns out I can. The Flex Track, which is Railcraft Flex Track, came up pretty simple. It was glued down with carpenter's glue, just a yellow glue, and it comes up real nice. If you're careful, you get that up. The Microengineering number 6 turnouts, they come up fine. There are no issues, and I, you know, didn't damage them. The slightly more difficult ones to get up are the Fast Tracks turnouts, because they're wood ties, and again, I wood glued them down, you know, to the cork. And you can see I did get it up. Let me try to get this into some more light here. These are the money turnouts for me, the number 8s, because I want to reuse a lot of these. I was able to save it, and I think I can. And I actually did. I took I think one number 8 and 2 number 6s, and cleaned them up, and they seem fine. You do have to come in and clean some of the old cork off. So I very carefully with a chisel blade, X-Acto, cleaned that off, sanded it lightly, make sure everything works. I'll check all the gauge, and you see I left this. This is the frog. I said, well, if I can save that, I'll save that, because I'm going to reuse that. So I was able to save this number 8. You got to be real careful. It takes time. On this one, you can see I slipped, and I did slightly deform it through there. But I actually think I can save it, because, you know, the real integrity on these Fast Tracks comes from the solder on the PC board ties. The wood ties are there. Yeah, once you plyo bond them in, they give you some structure, but really they're just decoration. The real structural strength comes from the solder joints on the PCB board ties. So I think if I'm careful, and I try not to bend them, you know, I didn't pry them up. I very loosely came along and got them loose, and was able to get them up. I said this one I did slip with the big fat flat blade chisel I was using. So, but you can see the solder one it's fine. Didn't come out. So I think I can take it back to the workbench and work on it. Here's a number 6 crossover that was in the factory. I'm not sure I'm going to have a use for this, because I don't know that I need a number 6 crossover in the new plan. I don't think I do. But it's there. I want to save it. So that's the plan. And along with that, this engine facility will probably come out and become an industry. I'm going to add some, like I said, here. This gets reconfigured with some additional tracks for the ore cars, the ore dock, the possible lake boat that sits out here that I can roll out of the way and store under the layout. I think it'd be cool. You can buy actual HO scale lake boats. They're like 6 freaking feet long. Wouldn't that be cool? That just really kind of excites me. I like that. The engine terminal, again, be up in here. I will cheat the aisle a little bit here. I'll be a little bit tight, but I want to be able to use the stuff that I put so much time and effort and money into. May add one more track on the back for some industry along here, and if I do that, you can see the reach is getting pretty far. So I've been doing some research, and I might put some of the Rapido automatic uncouplers or electric uncouplers in the back there. So if you're switching, you can get cars in and out of the industries out there. And then I'm probably going to do a little bit of reconfiguration again up in here. Bring another track up along here. Basically, this track will continue. This will give me a little caboose track and access to the ore dock. We'll still be off of this track. Big changes up here to give me the ability to work the yard without coming on the main line. Because now I'm going to operate. I don't want to be fouling the main line, or very, very minimally. Or now it doesn't really matter because it's not really set up for operation. So, okay, so let's get to the track plan real quick. I don't have a lot of time to do all this, but I just want to kind of give an update where I am, where my thinking is. And basically all this will stay the same. This area, the scenic area, and basically from here all the way around won't change. Open, scenic, no additional industry, trees and woods, and you know what's here now. Obviously I do got to work on the town itself, so I'll have Lake City a little bit and get trees up here on this hill kind of as a view block. 97 will change, but no more industries or anything like that. So this area, you know, this half of the layout, let's say, stays open, scenic. It's kind of nice, you know, nice running through the scenery. And then most of the trains now are going to run staging around the layout, come into Eugene Yard, either what's not going to be the north yard or the south yard. It depends if you're a coal or ore train or another train, do some work, stop, come out, go to the engine facility, service the power. Probably going to have a crew, if not two crews, shifting the yard here. One north, one south, maybe even one at the other end. It depends how busy I want to make it. So that gets a lot busier there. And then the trains, you know, get power. The ore trains pick up empties, go back around. Oops, sorry about that. Go back around into staging. I'll have some, you know, through freights that run. Some will come out of staging this way into Eugene and drop and go back. Some will come through and drop and go all the way around back into staging. I'll kind of try to cover that in the track plan. So that's where I am. Big changes. I had to really think about it, but the last 2 weeks I've been doing a lot of planning. So let's take a quick look at the track plan, see what I'm thinking about, see how crazy I am. As you can see, I kind of already started, so I guess I'm going to do it. But I want to do it in stages. I can't swallow this all at once. It's way too much. So I got to figure out what I want to do first, what I can tackle, because there's obviously bench work changes. I have a power supply mounted here. I'm going to move back. I got to figure out where I'm going to put all the CMRI control boards, what more inputs I need, what other outputs I need. Do I need more boards? Do I need... It's just a lot to think about. But I'm getting there, and I think if I do it, well, when I do it, it's going to be a lot more operational, the layout, and I kind of like that, just based on recent things I've been doing with some of the guys I met and operating on their layouts. So, all right, let's hop in the track plan, take a look, and then get this up so people can take a look and see what they think. Alrighty, so here is the latest version of the track plan. I'll kind of walk through this. Hopefully it won't take too long. I get too gabby. So here's CP97, and you can see we kind of brought the double track down to single track, and then the line back to the staging area, and the single track around into the factory area. And the factory area, this idea here, you know, before I thought about single end staging or double end staging, and one of the commenters, and I want to thank Bill Beranek, I think I got his name right, for helping me out on this, and I'll show you his website in a moment. Did a great job really kind of opening my eyes to the possibilities here, because I hadn't thought about this. He worked on the staging area for me. It's not huge, but I think it'll work. It gives me roughly maybe 15, 16 car trains. Now on these two stub tracks that are longer, obviously I could put longer trains in there. And the factory area was kind of redesigned
to make it more flow and not such a large flat table area. And like I said, I want to give a shout out to, let me go to his webpage. Okay, this is Bill's webpage. He does do this as a business, and initially, I'm not going to lie, I was like, yeah, right, you're going to help me with the track plan, but he really did help me with the track plan. Really had some good ideas, does very, very nice work. So highly recommend, if you're just starting out and you want an option to have someone design a track plan for you, here's Bill Beranek. There's his number, here's his webpage at www.thetrackplanner.com. Good stuff, really, really helped me out. And what he came back with was this design, so you can see there's a very professional job for the factory area and the staging area. He didn't do the whole layout because a lot of it was already there. And I looked at this and thought, wow, why didn't I think of that? Now, I changed a little bit because of the fact that I've looked at several transformer factories, from the GE Pittsfield factory to the Pennsylvania Transformer Canonsburg factory to the Westinghouse Sharon factory, that were all transformer manufacturers, and I modified it slightly. His comment was, it kind of looks like you're trying to make a puzzle, and I'm not. It is kind of the way, it's not really a railroad industry that's just off the main line or something like that. It's a whole set that really is shifted by the plant shifter. So, and this may change. It's just kind of my thoughts for how to do it, because I know the kind of buildings, how the factory works, what they receive, how they kind of feed things in and out of the factory. So, but more on that as I work on the fine-tuning this. So the staging area track would come off of 97, back into the staging area, and then come out here and come along, cross over here, and then be out on the main line again. So, I mean, to me, it's a little unusual to have this kind of going right through a factory, but it could happen. And that's really what I have to do in this situation. So, it brings the main line back, like I said, away from the aisle, cleans up a lot of aisle space here. I did put a crossover here, so you can cross over to get to either the north or south yard. And then it just continues around into Eugene Yard, which I mentioned previously. I'm trying to add the ore dock here. I had some tracks over here on the south yard, which is the ore yard. Here's the engine facility. I'll kind of zoom in on this. Let's see if I can. There we go. So like I said, this here is already existing. So it'll go up to the Walther's 110-foot turntable. This is the roundhouse that I already built, and I'm going to have a link down below to another video I did. It just kind of shows it to you. So what I decided to do was off of the yard, this here would be the incoming track, and I might change this a little bit, but basically come in, and if your steam diesel transition era, this is an ash pit. This is the coaling tower that I already have. This could be water, sand for steam. This is the sand house. Then they go onto the turntable into the roundhouse and all the radial tracks as needed. And then this track in the earlier era is for our, gondola for the ash, hopper car or two for the coal. This track then, actually this track and this track, these two become your outbound, your ready tracks. So you can bring power out and kind of park it in here waiting for assignment. And this track's nice and long. I can fit several steam locomotives, several sets of diesel motive power on there. This could also be used also as for diesels, let's say, to come in and just get right to the turntable. It could also be an outgoing. If you know your train's leaving soon, you can come in here and kind of sit and wait. Now, it also is kind of the switching lead for the side of the yard, so it won't be just an outbound track. But these two are kind of outbound tracks. And then when we go pure diesel, or we go pure modern, then this track as well can become a place to set outbound power if needed. Or perhaps a wrecker train, or perhaps, I don't know, bad order cars or whatever. But in the steam era, this would probably be left open for the ash and for the coal. So one inbound track, two outbound tracks, with a third track down here that can actually be both when it's not being used as the yard lead. I cleared this area out. This is the current engine facility now, which is really just staging for diesels. I want to put some industry there, I'm not sure what. This is the ore dock here, so I added some more tracks on here. I'll call this the south yard, this the north yard. I added one more track, and then one runaround track that always stays clear, so you can get from one side of the yard to the other. On this side, I kind of modified it slightly to bring this around the yard lead. This could be a pocket for the yard crew, for cabooses, etc., etc. And then basically from here back, we have our yard lead, and I think I can extend it a little bit more. This plane isn't perfect, but I'll make that as long as possible so you can shift the yard and not go on the main line. This crossover is added so you can come out of the yard to the main line. I added another crossover here, so you can go either from either track into either the north or south yard. This is existing. This I added in. Again, this little pocket track here could be for cabooses for the south yard. And then this is like the ore storage yard in here. This track here being the inbound, outbound track. Same on the north yard. There's an inbound, outbound track where you can bring trains in. The power goes to the house. The caboose comes off, if so equipped. And then you got some more yards for switching. Yard tracks for switching, and other tracks here to handle the empties and the loads in the ore dock. I may add another spur off here with some background buildings to kind of hide the backdrop and the mistake I made with how high it is. But just for some more switching, so the Eugene Yard becomes almost a focal point of activity with power going in and out of the engine house, switching up here. This area I'm thinking of perhaps making like a transload facility. So in the 50s, it can be like a big team track area where you can bring in boxcars of lumber and flat cars of machinery and be unloaded. And then more in a more modern area, more like a transload facility where you bring in perhaps covered hoppers that transload into trucks, tank cars that transload into trucks, and again maybe some machinery and other type of material as well. At this end, I'm not sure yet. I'd like to put a piggyback area for both eras, really, for an earlier, it'd kind of be circus load style, but for the earlier area to have a small, not a real large, but a small piggyback yard, both in the 50s and then in the modern area, modern era. I'll think about that. And then, like I said, the ore dock, which would be one or two Walthers kits. It's not ideal because they probably should swing out into the lake, if this is the lake out here. But I can't do that because I'll really have no aisle space. And then, like I said, what I might try, here's my ship. Here's an HO scale lake boat, about 6 foot long. So, I have it stored under the layout somewhere. And then during a session, I can kind of roll that bad boy out there, bring him to the dock. The boat docks. So you've got a pretty cool scenic thing there, and I have it lighted up so at night it can be all lit, and I think it'd be pretty cool. This is just a sample. I don't know if I'll make it this big. I was just kind of playing around how large to make this table. And then the boat goes out and sails away. Come sail away with me. Okay, anyway, I'd like to do that. I think that would look really cool over here. And then, like I said, the rest of the layout really doesn't change. So from here over here's the bridge scene. That stays the same. Into Wallace Junction is the same. Up through Lake City the same. So this is basically like if you kind of cut the layout in half, this is the scenic area with just one small town with some ministries, a branch line that comes in at Wallace. And then over here you got your staging, redesigned factory area, redesigned Eugene Yard, adding the engine facility, which just I'd like to have. I mean, come on, we're model railroaders. We love engine facilities, let's be honest. And I really want to use some of the buildings, like, again, I spend so much darn time on. So in terms of the operational scheme, let's kind of cover that. So you got the ore dock, and I figured during a session, you've got a couple ore trains. You have to bring an ore train out. You'd come in at 97, run the main line, come into the south yard, power goes to the house, then some type of switcher, whether it's in a steam era, it's a steam engine, or it's a SD7 or Alco RSD11, some of those early 6-axle power in the mid-50s, or in a modern area, it could be SD40s, or who knows. But they start shuffling cars on and off the dock, and it depends how I set it up, if I have loads here or no loads there. And then you got to, get this holds about 8 cars. So I figured if I have a 16-car ore train, I can fill the dock. So he comes in, the load's got to be, swapped with the empties, the empty train made up, power comes back out, takes the empty train back. I figure to load a boat, I have no idea, but maybe 2 or 3 trains are needed. So during a session, I'd bring, 2 or 3 loaded trains out and the same associated number of empties going back. So that gives the crew, quite a bit to do. I don't know yet how I handle the loads and the cars and everything, and it will take some work back in the staging area for someone to, probably me, to handle, configuring the trains properly, but okay. So that's, one operational thing. And then you got some, through traffic that you can run out, that comes out into the north yard, drops and picks cars for the local industries and whatnot, then departs, and then it's back into staging, and the same going the other direction. You can even have, depends on the era, or I could just say I got a passenger train that just kind of comes out and runs the railroad, runs around into staging. It could be a Penn New York Central, or it could be Amtrak. So it gives you that, the flexibility to run through trains that just kind of just cruise around the layout for fun. Out of this area in the workshop, now this, I figured, will probably be, like if I say that, a lot of this stuff I'm kind of liking the Penn now, so if I say this is the Penn, this is a New York Central, they have trackage rights, so they come out of the branch into Wallace, they run around, then they take the single track main here, and then they run into Eugene Yard to interchange, drop off cars, pick up their run, then they head back, and then they run back up the branch line. So maybe a turn or two comes out of the branch to handle that. You have some locals then that are made up. Obviously, one of the main areas for local work is the factory. So you have a local that comes out, drops and picks cars here. That's what this track is for the local. And then he departs, and then you got the little plant switcher, which is probably going to be a GE 44 or 45 tonner, or if that's broken down, maybe a Alco S4 or RS1 or just something, something cool that I can have there as a local power. And then you can almost have one person, handling all this work, because you got to bring these cars in and spot them. The factory itself will have transfer moves. A transformer will come out of the main assembly, go over to the test lab. So you have to pull it out. And I do have a little runaround area right here. So, the little locals the little power's got to go in, bring the transformer, pull them in here, run around it, take them over to the test lab. Then he's got to, shuffle some empty flats. This track here and really this track here aren't really load tracks. They're just to store idler flat cars that are used, all over the factory. You might have to, come down here and take a tank out and bring a tank up to the main building. The only thing I kind of don't like is, the factory is kind of split by this main line. So if you're shifting down here, you've got to kind of cross the main line. Okay, I can live with it. It's not ideal, but I think, and I do really appreciate Bill coming up with the idea. I can make it work. It's not perfect. They probably would not do that in real life, but who knows? So you got one guy working almost completely the whole session in the factory. You got one crew perhaps bringing the ore trains in. You got another person running some trains out of the turns, out of the branch area into the yard. You could have maybe one, if not 2 crews, working one end of the east and west end of the yard. One person making up trains, one person working the ore dock. When trains are made up, then they switch over and they start working the industries here to set and place cars and pull cars and build up cars to be picked up. And then you just got some through trains that just run, maybe just a piggyback train, just comes on and just cruises on through. Now, it doesn't take a lot of time, but that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of operation. So like I said, most of the traffic basically goes in and out of the staging. Whether it comes out of staging here, stops at Eugene, does some work, continues around, back into staging. So the reason I kept this at single track was it probably wouldn't need to be double tracked. I do want to have it for continuous running, because I may want to just come down and work on something and just have a train cruise around. Yeah, you could run through staging, but if all your staging tracks are full, it means you have to leave one of them always open. It's doable, but I figured, you know what, I'm just going to leave this here single track so I can do it. And plus, that's how either the New York Central or the regional railroad, it could be the Buffalo and Pittsburgh and modern era, who knows, R.J. Corman, I don't know, a lot of cool things I could do. And, that's got to run this way to get over into Eugene and vice versa going back. So that's it. That's the plan. Bring my boat into the dock here. Boo! That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to get this up for folks to take a look at. Because there are a lot of great. I want to thank everyone for the great suggestions. I know I couldn't answer all of them, but I did. I absolutely did read all of them. Some real good ideas. I know not everyone's going to agree with this, but based on looking at this and based on again, can't thank Bill enough for his initial thoughts. That kind of drove me to this concept here. Fantastic. So thank you, Bill. This is what I think I'm going to do. So I've already started. It's going to be a lot of work. All the control cabinets need to be done. Like I said, I got to figure out all the CMRI controls. I got the roundhouse and I got the turntable now, so I can start doing some stuff. Now the next thing I got to consider is, how do I want to stage this? What makes the most sense to tackle first? What I think I'd like to do is tackle this, the engine facility, the south yard, and get some of that work done. And then maybe move on to the north yard. Because all this can be done, and I can kind of leave the bench work over here, leave the main line in, and still play with trains. Obviously the staging is a big impact on the operations, but in terms of just pure work, there's a lot of work here that has to be done. Then when I go over to tackle this, then I got a lot of bench work to do. So this is almost going to shut the railroad down while I rip and tear and relay and do all that. So I want to have all the turnouts made. I want to have everything pretty much ready to go. I got some flex track on order. I got to make a couple more fast tracks turnouts, some curved turnouts, some other things that I got to do to get ready. Figure out if I need any more tortoises. Do I need any more? I like to use the frog juicers. That's personal preference. Do I have enough of those? Because I do free up a lot of stuff when I take out the old factory and salvage a lot of that stuff. So that's the plan. That's what I'm thinking of doing right now. Gets me some hidden staging. Gets me I think a more operable layout. Not ideal, but I think it would work. Could keep probably 4, 5, 6, maybe a few more people busy over a 3, 4, 5 hour session. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then again, I want to get the lake boat. I just like that. I just think that would be so cool to do that. So, all right, I'm going to shut up, get this posted. I have to go back to the job site on Monday, so I don't have a lot of time at home. When I go back, again, my thoughts will be, what do I do? How do I stage this? How do I tackle this in pieces? And maybe even start working on, getting the track ready for turnouts. So when I get home, hopefully I get home eventually from the job, I can hit it right away, start making turnouts and getting things ready to go. So, all right, so that is it. So thanks. Be curious to see what some people think. If this makes any sense to anybody whatsoever. And more to come as I get working on this and finalize the factory. And hopefully get this job wrapped up so I get home and make some of these changes. Thanks, everybody. Do appreciate it.